Welcome to the Bridge of Two podcast. Well, we're back. We got our wine.
After I spilled it all over my keyboard.
First stage wine, just like Celebrimbor spilled his first stage wine.
It doesn't help that this first glass of wine is preceded by a pretty gigantic can of Mike's Hard Lemonade.
Oh, okay. You couldn't see it. You're like
And
reaching and you missed it.
I've been up since 5 a.m., so...
Oh, wow. Is that when Emma got up?
No, I've been getting up at like 5:10, 5:15 to go work out in the morning before work.
Ew.
It's better than working out after it. I
Right,
get home and can hang out with Steph and help her out and stuff, so...
Right. And
It's just,
and
it's
you,
Friday.
And you work out.
It's just Friday, so I've been doing it for 5 days in a row now, and I'm tired.
Right. Well,
Working out Monday through Friday sucks.
working Monday through Friday? Yeah, it does, actually.
Anyway, we're back.
We're
again.
back. Back on the bridge. Say amen.
Amen.
So yeah, we're back. I can start first if you want, unless you're itching.
I would
to
love
go.
for you to start first. Let me know what's going on in the world of Josh.
Okay. Well, I got a Brandon Sanderson book, brand new one,
Really?
fresh off the presses.
did you get the most boring book ever? Dude, have you looked through it at all
It's
yet?
so boring. Yeah, it's
I
fun.
really want to get it.
It's fun. Here, just look at read the back.
A boy sits in a chair. He is bored. You will be too.
It was fun because I had, this book is called The Most Boring Book Ever. Brandon Sanderson wrote it. It's a picture book, and Kazu Kibuishi, who wrote the Amulet graphic novel series, he did the illustrations, and which Ellie loves the Amulet book. She's read them all, and but the book is the words don't match the pictures, and I had Jack and Ellie both read it to me, and it was really fun, really satisfying experience because Jack's like reading the page and then he's looking at the picture and he's like, that's not right. Like,
That's awesome. I really want to get it.
Yeah, it definitely had the desired effect.
Yeah, so I just want to get it for when Emma's old enough to appreciate that stuff.
That'll be a fun one for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So so that was fun.
Is it Cosmere related? What spoilers are in it?
I need to look for Hoyd in it.
Does he? I mean, there's gotta be, right?
He's got to be in the background somewhere. Some guy with white hair. Actually, I didn't even think about that. I do need to look for it, see if there's any kind of Easter egg. I'd be surprised if he didn't. But other than that, I went to see last Friday. I went to see Transformers 1 with Jack. I took Jack to that. So that's a new Transformers movie.
I was like, you mean like the first Transformers movie that was released years ago? Are they doing it in theaters?
No, but this movie actually had like original Transformer movie vibes. It was animated. I mean, like CG or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But it had it was all taking place in like Cybertron, so no human characters or anything, and it was kind of like a little bit of a new origin story, sort of, and it was interesting. And it's based on some kind of document that apparently Bandai, I think, whoever makes, or Hasbro, maybe Hasbro had someone try to basically at some point like harmonize all the Transformers lore. And so they wrote this big book that was like kind of taking all the lore and like, but then writing it in such a way that it could kind of all work. and because there was a lot of contradictions and stuff, I guess, in a lot of the Transformers media. And so, but apparently it never got really utilized. And so whenever they were working on this movie, they took that book and kind of took the origin. It's kind of based on that. Although I think they did, like, one thing they did is, like, at the beginning of Megatron and Optimus are like friends, like best friends, actually.
Oh,
so,
interesting.
Yeah, it was a very interesting, like, Obi-Wan Anakin kind of story, you could say. It was it was a blast. Like, it was a really fun movie. It was really just great storytelling. A great Transformers story. A lot of really good, like, all the characters just got, good moments. Your classic Transformers characters like Bumblebee and Megatron, Starscream, it was a lot of fun.
I'll probably end up checking it out when it comes to some sort of streaming thing.
Definitely recommend. So that was fun. And then, then the other thing, besides watching Rings of Power, is starting to work on the, getting ready for the Cosmere RPG little thing we're doing together. So
yes, I guess we can talk about that a little bit because that's something we've both done.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are going to start. We're gonna start off by doing the Cosmere RPG demo that was released. Well, I guess this is back when it was a Stormlight RPG.
Bridge 9.
The Bridge 9 Adventure Path. Short little story. I'm assuming it'll probably take us maybe 2 sessions to finish, give or take, depending on how you guys do, and if I throw anything else in there just for the fun of it.
Right. How curious we are.
Yeah, and I might just throw something else in there just for the fun of it. I don't know. We'll see. But we are doing that with our old group, with my brother, and then you, and then Caleb, and then we have a 4th member, I guess 5th, but 4th player to this party that has joined. It's an old friend of me and my brother's from back when years and years ago, that my brother's obviously like best friends with, but now that I've moved back up to North Carolina, I've come in contact with again. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be really interesting because two people, namely my brother and our other person, Jacob, has never read any of the Cosmere, does not know anything about Stormlight. My brother knows bits and pieces because he's read like a quarter of The Way of Kings. And he's obviously my brother, so he's heard me talk about a lot of different things.
Right.
But it'll be interesting to kind of see. I'm really hoping that playing this will kind of kick Josh further into gear into reading it. My hopes are getting up during yesterday's session 0 when he was like, I just need to read this book.
I mean, at the very least, it's a way for him to experience, some of the, great things about the world building and the lore and stuff like that, even if it doesn't fully get him there, where he'll have some awareness of it.
I think it'll push. He is a reader. He does like to read.
Yeah.
I think it's just he, like me, I think we both kind of have a bit of ADHD, and where I, from a young age, kind of picked up reading and like really focused on that, he didn't. And so it's easier for me to sit down and read a book as opposed to him. Because he just gets so distracted easily with things, is my guess. And that and The Way of Kings is a gigantic freaking book, and so it's daunting to anybody. But yeah, I'm hoping this kind of kicks him into wanting to read it. I think it will, especially the more I talk about it. He just needs to sit down and do it.
Right.
But yeah, I think playing it too, and just the world, I'm really excited about it, especially DMing it, because the Stormlight Archive obviously is something, and the Cosmere Journal, definitely Stormlight Archive, is a world that I know.
Right.
I like to say I know pretty well, so I can feel like I can, even when we get to the point where we're not doing adventure paths and I'm making my own stuff up, I can do a pretty good job of making up cool stories in the world.
Right. It's like you've been preparing for it.
Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, it's just going to be a fun world to just freaking play in, and I can't wait to just throw things at you guys and just to have fun with it. To see you guys hope maybe become Knight Radiance or even Mistborn when the time comes,
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait for the like greater Cosmere stuff to to get that material so that we can integrate that into whatever we're doing at the time, and really explore almost like we're going to get to kind of play around. It feels like, I know there's Cosmere connections and stuff in a lot of the books, especially more recent ones, but to kind of, it's almost like he's, kind of giving us like access to this whole thing, this whole universe in a different way, where we can sort of toy around and play around with this idea of like a grand Cosmere story, which is what he's actually unfolding,
But we can have our own little part, our own little story that we're making that, I mean, obviously the adventure path he's made, the basis of it is a canonical event. But like I expressed to you guys yesterday, I really want to, I wanted to do adventure paths just because we obviously, me, you, and Caleb, or you, Caleb, and I very much like the Stormlight, and we want to know what this canonical event is. We want to know that story. Afterward, so we're definitely going to play it, but afterwards I really want to, the way the Cosmere setup is so easy just to get you guys into a different world,
right?
Whether it's an already made world by Sanderson, or just a completely made up world that just I've made to fit into the Cosmere,
right?
And to make our own stories that can have relevance to the Cosmere in our own way. It's not obviously not canonical if I'm making it up, but like, and it really is just Brandon Sanderson making this universe and this world and these worlds, and just allowing us to just play in it.
Yeah. Yep.
Which
definitely.
is just it's fantastic, and I'm so excited to play it. I hope I can do a good job DMing, and everybody will have fun with it, and hopefully we can keep it going. I know we've struggled in the past with keeping it going. We're all adults and have lives and jobs, and things get tough, but I'm hoping we can really find a way to stick with it and keep it going.
Yeah.
Because I am very excited to.
I think it helps that it's Cosmere, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And because we always have like a foot in that world, pretty much. But and then also sure. I think like too, just the motivation to hang out, since we're a little more spread out.
For sure, yeah. Too. Now having that aspect of like me having moved, like it is gonna be one of the few times we can kind of actually sit, hang out, play D&D,
Right.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I'm excited to do this demo and then kind of get this group settled. I think the group dynamic is going to be fun with everybody, including our newest member. So
yeah, I think it should be a good dynamic, good fun dynamic, for sure. You got anything else going on, or mainly that?
I'm doing my reread of continuing my reread of Words of Radiance right now.
Right. Nice.
Obviously, the Cosmere RPG stuff has kind of pushed me back into it, especially with Book 5 coming out soon. I'm hoping I'll have a little bit more time to read coming up here, now that I'm about to finish up with this academy at work.
Nice.
So that's been fun. Other than that, not much else. Just been playing a few different random games here and there, trying to play with friends. I really want to play through Dragon Age Inquisition, because the next Dragon Age game is about to come out this month. And I'm a big Dragon Age fan. I love those games.
You've beaten Inquisition before, right?
No, I've gotten really close to the end. It's the same thing I have with most games that I own, where I've played a lot of it, and then this is where my ADHD kind of kicks in, and I never end up beating it, except I find like another game to play.
Right.
I'm trying to really combat that and like force myself to beat games that I'm starting if they're single player, which I'm doing pretty good at. Like I finished all the Dark Souls games. That was kind of the start.
That was good.
But I do like Dragon Age a lot. I've played all the games a little bit, or a decent bit. So I'm excited. I want to beat Inquisition, because Inquisition, especially the DLC, is apparently really important to the story of the next Dragon Age. So I want to play that. Other than that, though, I'm trying to think. Not much. Steph's about to finish the Way of Kings. My wife.
Oh, really? About to, huh? You said she was getting pretty far.
She's like 8 or 7 hours left.
Oh, wow.
Which, considering that's a 40-some hour audiobook,
she's almost to the Sand Ranch.
Yeah, pretty much.
Last like 3 or 4, 5 hours.
Yeah, I think she just said she's at the part where Kaladin's kind of figuring out that Syl is different.
Okay.
Or like the importance of her.
Right.
So That's really cool. I'm excited. She's really getting into it. She's been able to really dive deep into it.
That's good.
And listen to it, so especially being at home with Emma. You know.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's been really fun. But yeah, other than that, not much else. Just same old, same old.
Awesome. Well, any do we need to break it all, or do you want to just jump into?
Let's jump into it. Let's get this party rolling. Let's give the
Let's go
to what the bridge crossers yearn for.
The Bridge Crossers. That's the name for our fandom. We're Bridge Crossers. Yeah.
We gotta come up with something better. The Bridgies.
Bridgers.
Bridgers? That sounds like Ezra Bridger.
Bridgeites.
Ooh, Bridgeites.
Or Bridgman. Bridgman, right?
Bridge.
Wouldn't Bridgman
I
make
guess
sense?
it would just be Bridgman, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, so Rings of Power. Season 2, episode 3.
And 4. We'll talk about both.
And 4.
We'll just jump into it.
So we'll talk about them all. Episode 3 is called The Eagle and the Scepter, and episode 4 is called Eldest.
Episode 3 was very much Numenor.
Yeah, they because they hadn't come back to Numenor the first 2 episodes, so they had to really.
Yes.
Yeah. So you got it starts with Isildur, right? And his horse.
No, I think it starts with Isildur's dad and them there's a scene with his dad talking to Isildur's horse.
Oh, right, because he's releasing him.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of going back to like what happened to Beric and.
Yes, and I want to. Yeah, I think it does. It goes into Isildur. I'm trying to remember how quickly that happens.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't like go into him immediately, but yeah, you see Beric, so it's kind of like, okay, tease that up. So what do you think about, I guess, since the Beric stuff and the Isildur stuff?
It's a downfall that I have right now, and so I'm gonna have to eventually go back and watch all of it.
Remembering
It's been so long since season 1, and I didn't rewatch it prior to because I've been so busy this last month.
What about the recaps?
I mean, yeah, I get the recaps, but even then, they don't. It's
Yeah,
more just like it kind of jogs memory, but like I'm more of a detail oriented. I want to know.
Yeah.
So it's been tough for me to kind of remember everything. Like I remember Isildur, like what through the recap, I remember him being stuck in that burning building,
Right.
And all that. But just it's been a struggle. Like I didn't remember the queen getting blind or the regent lady getting blinded. Until obviously it was mentioned again. I was like, oh, that's right, she was blind, but I don't remember why or how.
Yeah.
So I'm at a little bit of a disadvantage there, unfortunately. And so I am eventually, when we finish and the season's over, I'll have to go back and watch all of it, and then maybe like during a recap or during the first half of one of our podcast episodes, I'll have to like talk a little bit more about how I feel about everything. Watching it all together. So that's just made it a little tough. That being said, I very much enjoyed it. I think so far episode 3 has been the weakest for me.
I think that the Isildur stuff, and
I will say minus the Isildur stuff.
Okay, that's not weak to you.
No, I like Isildur. I actually really like his character. I like the actor that's playing him.
Yeah.
But what were you gonna say? I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I remember whenever those first 3 came out, because they released all 3 at the same time, and I just remember that that third one was kind of like, a lot of people felt like it was weaker, but I think it was people that were wanting to stay with the Celebrimbor and Anatar stuff, and the elves, because you don't get to see as much of the elves this episode, and I think Celebrimbor and Anatar are in this one.
Not much.
But not much. Yeah.
I do agree. I think this is something I've noticed in a lot of specifically modern TV shows. especially like this, where they will have a couple episodes that focus, and it's the same issue that, and I haven't finished the series, but I've heard this is an issue that Wheel of Time has, where so with this show, they'll do the first two episodes are focusing solely on, like, very much solely on these elves, so Galadriel, Elrond, and then Celebrimbor and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you'll get your third episode, and you're invested. You're like, oh man, what's gonna happen? You get your third episode, and you get like none of them because they're going over they're focused on a different character or set of characters, which is fine. So, but that was like an issue with like what I've heard with Wheel of Time is like you will have a whole book where there's characters that are completely left out, and then you get to the next book, and then they're in there. And so when you have characters that you really enjoy, and a lot of people do, they very much like, Galadriel, and they want to know the story of Celebrimbor and Sauron and all that. So when you kind of have an episode where they're not in it much, you are going to have some people that fall off.
Right.
Not to say that the Numenorian stuff is not interesting, because I think it is. And I do think the Numenors are cool. I like political things in shows as I've grown older, like when it's done well. And I do enjoy what they're doing with the Numenorian stuff. Really, because it gets me riled up, because it makes me angry.
Right.
Which is good. I like a show that can evoke emotion in me like that. But I definitely understand people's, viewpoint of like it being weaker because it kind of does cut out the elf portion. I feel like there should, like, and it's a modern thing that TV shows have been doing. They need to kind of fix, where they just stop. You can put them all into each episode, and I almost think it'll flow a little bit better. Give or take. I don't know. I'm not a director. I don't know.
Well, it's a symptom of the problem with being so restricted to how many episodes you have in a show now. It's like, instead of having 10, 11, 12, 13 episodes, you have 8 episodes that are an hour. And so, if you put every plot line in every episode, then you just get a little bite of everything.
I know what the fix is.
What?
We should just go back to an episode when seasons were like 20 episodes long.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah. That would be cool. and that you get more development for sure. But then they also have like lower budgets and stuff.
Yeah, I know.
I think they could have definitely gotten away with, like, Amazon could have afforded to do like 10 episode seasons.
Dude, Amazon can afford a 30,000 episode season.
Right.
It's Amazon.
Yeah. I think so. When I was watching this episode, Numenor is like the story of Numenor. That was one of my favorite things in the books was the story of Numenor and the fall, where Numenor goes. So I've definitely been very interested in Numenor over the last 2 seasons, and really, excited by a lot of it. But I will say, like, when I was watching episode 3, I remember feeling like there's a lot of things that are happening at a breakneck speed, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember, like, and even with me, like, I've rewatched season 1 a couple times. And so even with that, and being able to remember, that there were some people not happy with them going to Middle Earth and everything. But then they come back, and it's just like the whole country's turned against them. And then the faithful, almost, it seems like. And there's like straight up they're straight up like thinking about, should we have a different ruler? I guess I kind of get like Muriel being blind. That definitely kind of weakens people's faith in her ability, I guess. I could see that. But I just remember, I remember feeling like, oh man, like, I don't dislike what's happening. I just dislike the pace that it's happening. So.
A question I have that comes up in episode 3 is the, what are they called? The crystal balls. What are they called?
Oh, the Palantirs. Seeing stones.
Why is that so taboo? Like, why is the queen, regent, lady, whatever, using that so like bad? Because that's what the one girl, the
Yeah.
Isildur's sister, I think, uses to go against the queen.
Yeah, they're from the elves, so that they were given to the Numenorians by the elves. Back when the Numenorians and the elves were on more friendly terms, when the Numenorians, liked their connection to the elves. But then at this point in Numenor's history, they become jealous of the elves' immortality. You hear one thing I do like that's fun in this episode and like more episodes in this season is they talk about the Valar and they say like, Valar be with you, things like that. Because the Valar are like the gods of the West, in the West, and the elves, that's kind of reason why they distance themselves from the elves, because the elves are very, very loyal and very, in league with, on the side of the Valar, and the Valar, in the eyes of the men, are like holding back. And like the elves, they view the elves as like the favored, the firstborn, favored ones.
Gotcha.
Which they literally are for the firstborn. Like they woke up first. But so that's what's going on. And so like I know that, but they're not really giving it much room to breathe before you have almost this whole power struggle.
Someone like me or Steph reading or watching this are kind of just like I why? Mm-hmm. Other than our reference to like the Palantirs,
yeah,
are like bad in the sense of like in the movies Sauron can see, you had that whole scene in the movies, but like other than that, like we don't really have too much reference as to why these are so taboo and bad,
right.
And I also don't remember why the sister is so upset with the Queen Regent, other than like, I mean, I know it was like about them going to,
because of Isildur. She thinks he's dead. Yeah, she thinks Isildur's dead. She wasn't happy when he went.
Yeah, but like even with the one guy, like it was honestly one of my favorite scenes in that episode was when the one soldier, they're all in the bar talking basically mutiny, and the soldier comes up and basically it's just like, keep doing this, I'm gonna beat your butt,
Yeah.
And even he like says to the girl, like, she did, her eyesight's basically gone because of trying to help Isildur. Didn't he say that, or am I imagining that?
Yeah, no, he said that. Yeah, he said that she was trying to save people's lives. Yeah.
And like instead of getting any thought, or I don't know, talking to her father who was there, she just continues on with this mutiny.
Yeah, she definitely alienates herself pretty quickly. I guess, going with this whole idea that she's really upset that Isildur went because, and then the fact that something happened to him, and then you have her father who has very much aligned himself with Miriel, who she sees as responsible. It's like, it's all there. It's not like it's not there. It's not
given enough time to breathe. I agree with you.
Right.
So going at it, like, I don't feel any sympathy for this sister. I don't understand.
I don't either. I don't know if we're supposed to feel sympathy, but
yeah, that's what I'm trying to discern too. Is just like, are we supposed to feel bad for her? We're supposed to kind of at least understand, because I don't really even understand where she's coming from. Other than like, yeah, I get like your brother's there, but like at the same time, your brother volunteered. Like, grow up. I don't know.
It's almost like she's become very corrupted. Like, it's not even like she has an understandable point of view, and as much as it's like being a part of this like builders guild that she was starting in season 1 has gotten her closer to Pharazôn and the people that are more anti-elf or whatever, and so it's like her mind's warped,
Yeah,
because like it doesn't really, but yeah, I think without spoiling anything, I think that this plot line does better as the season goes.
Okay. Well, that's good to
So
hear.
like I said, at this point I was feeling a little bit like, oh man, I really hope they don't kind of botch this. But I think it does a little better as it goes. But
Well, I'll be excited to see what happens.
it's still very interesting, and I think also next season, I think we'll get a lot more with Numenor, and it won't be as rushed feeling.
Gotcha.
I'm hoping at least.
I will say though, contrasting though, is like the stuff with Isildur, I was all about.
Yeah.
I liked all the scenes. The actor is really growing on me for Isildur, being like a young Isildur. I also really liked getting to see. I'm gonna butcher his name, Arondir.
Yeah, Arondir's back.
I like seeing him back again. I liked him in the first season. I think he's a cool character.
Yeah.
But man, I gotta. Lord of the Rings just loves doing this, where they like to throw gigantic spiders at me. And your boy does not like spiders very much. And we sat down. I mean, we sat down. Was it last 2 nights ago? Yeah, Wednesday night. I unwrapped my Subway sandwich to eat some dinner. Sat down to watch my TV show, this fun Lord of the Rings fantasy, and man, they were just. He got into the cave, and I looked at Steph and said, "They're gonna throw freaking spiders at us." And sure enough,
that was some of the worst like spider stuff I've
It
seen
was awful.
ever. It was like, because it was like the great special, like Rings of Power special effects done with spiders. It was like, oh,
for the longest time I had to close my eyes or walk out of the room during the spider scene. The what's her in the Return of the King. Yeah,
Shelob.
I literally had to either leave the room or close my eyes because spiders used to scare. As I've grown older, it's changed. It's not like I don't like spiders, but it's not that big of a deal.
But
like especially like when I was younger, like kid into my teenage years, I just closed my eyes. Same with the Harry Potter stuff, man. The Harry Potter, the Chamber of Secrets, man.
Second one.
Spiders are disgusting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, yeah, like I said, those were horrifying, honestly. I was covering my wife's eyes when we were watching that.
I told Steph when it was happening, I was like, if this ever happened to me, I would just die. I just would give up.
You would just like disassociate, just like leave your body.
Yeah, there just ain't no way. I ain't pulling out a knife or a sword and attacking. There ain't just no,
or
ain't no way.
Catching it as it like jumps on your face.
Oh, I know that was brutal.
I don't know for sure, but the song for that scene is called Shelob, and there was talk about there being a young Shelob in the show, and I kept thinking we're gonna see like a biggish spider. But the biggest one we see is the one that he's like holding back, but it's like not huge. And I wonder if that was supposed to be young Shelob.
Is that a baby Shelob?
Yeah, which I feel like I don't know if she should be that little, but it is definitely a lot of time between now and Return of the Lord of the Rings movies, like tons of time between now and then. So
I also think they're allowed to take liberties too. I mean,
yeah.
They are adapting a lot of like appendices or like
right
lore that like I mean I'm sure is great. Probably doesn't have as like a crazy amount of detail in. They're allowed to take. I was talking about that with Steph. Like they're allowed to take some liberties with things,
Right.
Yeah. As long as it's not extremely lore breaking.
Right. Like making Shelob turn into like a
pig instead of a spider,
or like a woman, like in Shadow of Mordor, or was it Shadow of War?
Oh, did that really happen?
Yeah, like Shelob is that's funny because people will get mad at Rings of Power because they're like, that's not my Celebrimbor. Because they think the Shadow of Mordor Celebrimbor is like the right portrayal. But in the second game, Shelob is like a witch that can take the form of a spider, and this like good looking witch, and then I think Sauron like somehow forces her to be like a spider forever. Like he does something to her that makes her be a spider forever or something. So she's like a victim kind of.
Huh.
Because I think she's like, you're kind of working with her. Anyway. Lore breaking.
Yeah, I mean that game is lore breaking. I don't think that game touted itself as being lore accurate.
Right.
To be fair. Fun game.
No.
They're fun games.
No. It's crazy. But yeah, no, they are fun games. Yeah, I like seeing Arondir again and Theo. It actually crushed me. I rewatched episode 3 and 4 last week in preparation, and Bronwyn kind of dies off screen. Arondir says that the orc arrows were tipped with some kind of poison or something. They didn't know it, and mortals are just more susceptible to that, you know. But even though it happens off screen, the way all the actors play it was just heartbreaking. Like,
yeah,
you know, because that was basically like Arondir's whole kind of character is of season 1 is, you know, he wants to be with her, he wants to protect her and Theo, and then, like, you know, keeps talking about how we're gonna have a new start in Pelargir. Like, that was like the whole plan at the end of season 1, is that they were gonna go in Pelargir and have a new start together. And just kills me that you know, he's sitting there, he can't even put the torch in the pyre, and then Theo walks in and just shoves it in and turns around just like, you know, dead inside, you know.
Yeah.
And the music and everything. Yeah. So great performances. Broke my heart.
Really good performances. I agree. I think Arondir is the actor is doing a great job. I think his performance throughout both these episodes is really good. Plays a good elf, but also plays a good emotional elf. How you would assume an elf would be emotional about certain things, like the way they would act. I feel like he portrays very well. He also just has some of the most badass scenes.
He does. He's the acrobatic, like he does all the acrobatic stuff.
He's the Legolas of the show for sure.
Right. Which I won't say there's something revealed about him in a later episode that kind of goes along with that.
He's dad.
No. He trained Legolas. He taught him everything he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like him. I like that whole, like I said, the Isildur stuff going into that town of Pelargir.
Yeah.
The lady he meets, he met the lady, and I turn to Steph, I go, I wonder if that's Aragorn's grandmommy or something like that. I don't know the lineage, but
like great. Way back.
Is it that far back? Well,
yeah, it's like 3,000 years.
I mean, Aragorn's like 1,000 years, isn't he?
1,000. Like in his 80s.
I'm really showing how much lore I know about Lord of the Rings.
Just like 30 generations.
Look, I mean, you know, Elrond's living that long.
What's funny about, just total random aside, Elrond's lineage and then Numenor, you know, Elrond's brother was the first king of Numenor.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that. Wow.
He's an elf, right? So he's just living his life, but you know, Elrond's brother decided to be counted among the race of men and became the first king of Numenor.
Huh.
So
I think now is a good time, speaking of Elrond, to move into Elrond and Galadriel for a minute.
Okay.
Because I am once again finding myself irritated with Elrond.
Being all stingy about the rings.
Like, I get it, bro. I get it. You're against the rings. We all understand. But, like, it is, like, I want to agree with him because I get where he's coming from.
Uh-huh.
But he's also being a jerk. And it's just like...
I sort of love it, though. I don't know why, like, because it's unexpected. Because, you know, you see, it's definitely a big character switch from him in the first season, right? He's so understanding. He gives people so much grace. and friendship is such a big deal. And then, Galadriel really like pulls one over on him, and it sort of manipulates the situation. Like, she just basically says, you need to just trust me. And, so he does. And then it's like, oh, that's how you use my trust. So he's like, it's really stuck in his craw.
But it also just like, I don't know, like, 'cause like you have the scene where she has her little vision with her ring is like, we shouldn't go that way into the woods.
Right.
They say at that crossroads of the bridge bringing down, and she's like, we shouldn't go that way. It's going to be bad. It's going to be a no-no. And he's just like...
This is episode 4, right? I think.
Yes. Yeah, we're in episode 4 now.
Yeah.
He's basically just like, screw you, we're going to go that way.
Right.
Like, I don't trust your ring. I don't whatever.
Right.
And so they go, and it's bad. And it ends up being bad.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get into that. But, and then later on, you have the scene where she's like, I'm going to divert the orcs. I'm going to go be a... whatever, as she hands off the ring. And all the other elves are like, wow, she saved our lives. She's whatever. And Elrond's just like,
no,
she just cares about the ring. Like, bro,
he won't give her credit.
Like,
he's
dude,
like, she saved the ring.
Even if she does care about the ring, she also saved your guys' life. Like, maybe don't be such a jerk. Maybe don't talk ill of the possible dead. Like...
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I want to agree with him, and I get where he's coming from, and I appreciate it, but at the same time, I'm like, Elrond, my guy. Come on.
Yeah. It does. He is being stubborn about it. I think it's, he's supposed to be that's supposed to be kind of his flaw of the season, But
yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's interesting though. Like I found it entertaining a little bit. How he just won't let it go, and even to the point of I just love at the end of, I don't remember if it's the end of season or episode 2 or 3, but whenever Galadriel's trying to convince him, to do this mission, and he's like, I'm not going to do it.
The end of 2.
And then at the end, he's like, I'm the commander. He's the commander, and he just completely milks that, calls her lieutenant all the whole time, and basically tells her you can leave if you don't like it, and all this stuff. It's just the drama. I don't know. I enjoy it.
Don't get me wrong. I do enjoy the drama. That's why I say this, because obviously I wouldn't like it's made me care about it.
Yeah.
It's doing what it's supposed to do, which is like making me irritated with Elrond. I love it.
I think it's fun seeing the ring stuff too, like seeing how Galadriel's ring is, and even Gil-galad.
Mm-hmm.
He's starting to see visions too, and then also you get to see Galadriel heal someone.
That was cool.
That was a cool thing too, because that's the rings, like the power of the 3 rings. Some of it's a little like left to imagination. There's not a whole lot of explicit stuff about it, but Elrond is a very good healer, and that's that in Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of a theory about it, is that it has something to do with, spoiler alert, you didn't know, Elrond doesn't stay snobbish about the rings forever, which I think that's
eventually get one.
Which I think that's part of the reason they're doing that with him. They're kind of like leaning into that to make
character development,
because it's like, okay, so he's gonna get one, so let's make it like a just real interesting thing that at one point he was super against him, But
I mean, I gotta say though, so of the 4 episodes I've watched so far, episode 4 has been my favorite, and I'll tell you why.
Tell me why.
The Barrow-wights, the tree ants, the monsters. I love it. It feels so, especially like coming into the fall season, it feels so gosh dang fantasy. And I love it. I feel like I'm reading a Lord of the Rings book. I feel like I'm reading freaking, like Sword of Shannara or something like that. Like, it feels like a classic fantasy. I'm seeing all these cool creatures. You know, it was great. It was cool seeing the Barrow Wights because they're mentioned
Yeah.
in the Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the books.
Yep. The hobbits get like taken by one at one point.
And then, so that one, and I'll just jump quickly into this, and we'll go back to the monsters. But like, and then also, and Steph was ecstatic about this. Is we get an on-screen portrayal of Tom Bombadil,
Yeah.
and I saw we were watching, and we watch our TV with the captions on because sometimes we have to listen to it quieter because of our baby.
Yeah.
Um, and I saw when he spoke, his name was Tom, and I was like, holy crap, is that Tom Bombadil? And then obviously you learn that it is, and I was just like,
Yeah.
that is, whoa, you know. And
Yeah.
Steph was ecstatic about it because she loves Tom Bombadil. So
Agree with you about all of that. And that's one thing that's so fun about this show is it is just so fantasy, you know,
it's so fantasy.
and it's so does it so well. You know, even like I was thinking too when you're talking about the different creatures, you got the eagle, that giant eagle that lands at the end
Right,
of
yeah.
episode 3. You know, that's definitely an awesome moment. I love the music in that scene too. But the Barrow Wights were great. The Barrow Wights, they nailed the Barrow Wights for sure. They were so
Absolutely.
creepy.
Phenomenal scene. Phenomenal.
And then you said the tree ants, or did you say what was the other thing you said?
The tree ants, that whole section with them, and like as soon in episode 3 when Theo was taken, I was like,
Oh, okay.
oh crap, is that tree ants? You know, I was like, did they just are they bringing
So
tree ants into this?
were they in episode 4 then?
Yes, they were
Okay.
like you're hinted at it in episode 3, and then episode 4 they're actually in it.
The Ents, yeah. No, the Ents, that was great. That was a very I loved Arondir. Even like Arondir, he was honest
Are they called tree
about.
ants in Lord of the Rings?
They're Ents, right?
Eh.
They might be.
Sorry,
There's Tree
sorry
Beard.
everybody. Sorry everybody.
Oh, you're fine. Hey, you say Jasna. I mean, what can we expect?
It is Jasna. Thank you, and Adeline, and Sadeas, and
I had never heard you say Sideus. I couldn't remember you ever pronouncing it Sideus. So when you said that, I was like, why is he pronouncing it that way?
I can see how it could be Sadius, but Sadeas just sounds cooler.
Yeah, he doesn't deserve it.
Sadius sounds like he's a sad boy.
He doesn't deserve to sound cool.
He doesn't. Well, I mean, I don't know. Debatable, I guess.
Well, anyway, the Ents, they really did a great job with the Ents, and you get to see, an Ent wife, right? You get to see the female Ent.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's something that we've never seen either.
And the conversation between Arondir and the Ents, you know, is just like, I don't know. It gives more life to him. Like you have Treebeard, and they have life in the movies, but like the show gave a little bit more of even more of that life. They expanded upon it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, getting a female Ent, for example,
Right.
And like, yeah, I don't know. And then obviously, like starting off with the hatred towards orcs.
Yeah.
Was really cool. You know, obviously that branches into the Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Movies, and you know where like Treebeard and all them are upset about getting their stuff chopped down.
Well, this yeah, I mean, like lore wise, this time period it actually is a time period when the things happen with the Entwives because the Sauron's his war on the elves, he ravages the forests of Eriador between Lindon and Eregion. And that's actually like why a lot of the Entwives disappear. So I don't know how much they'll go into that on the show, but it's kind of like it's fitting to see some Entwives kind of before things go completely like full scale war, with them. But yeah. So did you liked Tom Bombadil? How they did him?
I did. Yeah, I did. I thought he was very interesting. He's very cryptic and just nonsensical, like always.
Quirky. I love when he yawns. It's just like the fire just goes bananas.
It was just it was very cool. And then with our wizard character, who I'm just gonna call Gandalf. I think we established that last episode. Gandalf is talking to him, and kind of the whole interaction between the two is very interesting. I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. How much do they talk about? Like, I know that like Bombadil kind of talks about himself some. He's eldest, and I love all the things he says about the stars are like, he calls the stars newcomers. I just love that so much.
His little thing tidbit was like interesting about just basically like being there. I don't know. It was very Christological, Jesus-esque of like, I was there from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the rivers and everything being made to an extent or coming into whatever.
Right.
It was interesting. And then his weird like power spikes of just like the yawning with the fire or whatever. And Gandalf just being like, "Can you teach me?" And it honestly did a good job of showing, because once again at this point I'm assuming that this is Gandalf, who we know is very powerful later on, and yet he is seeing this Tom Bombadil and is just like, bro, why are you so powerful?
Right. Yeah, and I really do like the Bombadil being kind of the one to show him the way, because it's like, if you want to learn, because like magic in Lord of the Rings, like in Tolkien's world, using magic is kind of perilous, because it's like trying to like dominate or manipulate nature is kind of like bad guy stuff,
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna do magic, or use, your powers, like if you're someone like a wizard or whatever, you need to know how to do it in a way that's not violating nature, It's a way that's somehow kind of working with nature, or letting nature do its thing. I loved even, doesn't he get stuck in the tree, right? Before because that's straight out of the Lord of the Rings. That's what happens to the hobbits. They get stuck in Old Man Willow. Here it's Old Man Ironwood, and he has to like sing a little song to get him to let him go. And I just loved. I got so many nerdy chills from that.
It was a nice little thing too, because then he even tells Gandalf, he's just like, Gandalf's like, "Oh, I was trying to grab his branch for his a staff."
Borrow
and he's like, you should have asked. And he's like, "I didn't think of that." And, that's why he was like, "Well, that's why you're not ready."
Right.
And I think that goes to kind of what you were just saying. It sounds like it's just like, you need to be able to work with the nature as opposed to trying to force it or work against it.
Right.
Which is interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah. So then the hobbits in that episode.
Harfoots.
The Harfoots, right? Harfoots. They found some other halflings, right?
Yeah, I don't remember what they're called, but and they're little, that they felt a little bit more halfling-esque, of like they're living in holes in the ground.
Yep. Yeah.
And then we kind of learn that it seems like that the Harfoot's little band of people might have started at this place actually.
Mm-hmm.
And then branched off, which was interesting. I feel like their story right now is still kind of inconsequential.
Yeah, it's more consequential to future hobbits, probably. I mean, like, they're teasing. I feel like, I remember my wife actually was, she was kind of anti-Harfoot last season.
I'm still anti-Harfoot.
If you remember.
I do remember. She was very anti-Harfoot.
Oh yeah, she didn't like him. But she thinks she picked up on that it seems like they're teasing that this is like setting up them to try and find the Shire, a place where they can put down roots and stuff. And so she really liked that, and that made her a little more invested in their storyline, which I found interesting because of how dismissive she was last season. But so then You get a little more with the like the wizard guy, the bad wizard guy.
I want to know who he
This one.
is, man.
Yeah. No. He
I guess some strong Saruman energy from him,
yeah.
but I don't think he's Saruman.
I don't think he could be just because Saruman becomes bad.
Yeah,
Because of
he was originally a good guy.
right. He becomes bad way later. So I don't think they would do that. But they could be just trying to give us those vibes to get because it's something familiar, but that doesn't mean he's Saruman necessarily.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep that on my mind because I don't think that he is. I just get those vibes.
What else do we have? We have stuff with the dwarves, right? Going on.
Very little in these 2 episodes. I mean, you get Durin, correct?
Yeah. Well, which one? The elder or the junior?
The junior. Him and his wife obviously are invited by Celebrimbor to talk about the rings. And it's interesting. That whole
was that the end of episode 3 or 4?
I think it was the end. It was the end of episode 3 because in episode 4 he does talk to his dad.
Okay.
Which I liked. I liked that scene. I think it was good character development for him of getting over that stubbornness and being,
right.
Sitting there and apologizing whether he needed to or not. Like I said, there wasn't too much. It was really just that whole aspect of him kind of being like, who's gonna, I'm not gonna talk to the king about this, my dad. And then eventually doing that they end up getting the mithril. And
well, remember too during when they did go and talk to Celebrimbor, he didn't really like the Anatar guy.
That is very true. Very true.
He sussed him out a little bit.
I'll tell you what, man, he is phenomenal at some trickery, really like making people think that they're the ones coming up with these things. Like Celebrimbor, and like even writing the letter that's like straight up lying to Gil-galad.
Right?
Like that
he's
is
like, you would lie to your king? Like he's acting like he's against it, but it's exactly what he wants.
That being said, he looks better as Halbrand than as an elf. He's strange looking as an elf.
Well, I think I think the same thing, that he feels so as Halbrand in season 1 and even in this season when he's Halbrand, he feels definitely like a trickster, but he feels human, and he feels like he has actual charisma.
Mm-hmm.
But when he takes on this elf form, maybe it's because he's carrying himself like, oh, I'm this like godlike thing or whatever. He's so emotionless,
Elves are notoriously emotionless though, as well.
Right.
Like that's a common trope that's like essentially taken from Lord of the Rings, is that elves are just like these emotionless beings that are kind of stuck up in a way.
But you notice the little things that happen too, though. Like you can tell, like whenever somebody isn't doing something he wants them to do, or someone touches him or interrupts him or whatever, it's just like this little bit of like the monster wants to come out, kind of like look behind the eyes. I had a lot. I just had so much fun with all the scenes with him. It's very fun knowing, being in on the secret, as the audience.
It is.
Being able to appreciate all that little stuff. I'm trying to think if we're leaving anything else out.
That's a lot of it. I'm curious to see what's going to happen with this girl that Isildur's kind of been around.
Oh, yeah.
She apparently found her fiance or whatever.
Yeah, and she had the mark. Right? And then she tried to cover it up.
But it seems like they were kind of getting past that,
Yeah, that was something Aaron was happy about. I remember she was like, I'm glad they didn't draw that out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just kind of, Arondir was like, right away was like, yeah, we kind of figured you out already.
I did like that as well. I liked that Arondir was very quick. They didn't make it 3 episodes later.
Make him seem dumb or something.
Like, Arondir called her out like almost immediately. I like that a lot.
Right.
Just the whole Isidore storyline, I'm very curious about and see where that's going to lead. I mean, obviously, ultimately where it leads, in the very, very end. But
yeah,
I'm curious to see where it's going to go now. With everything going on. I like that him and Arondir kind of with each other. I feel like they're a good duo.
Yeah,
it's kind of cool that he's away from his people. I don't know. It's just all very interesting. I hope they kind of keep playing that out a little bit. Don't just send him back to Numenor.
Yeah. Well, Pelargir is an important city in the future. Like, it's a very important port, and it's good that they're showing these like Numenorean colonies and stuff. That there's stuff like that in Middle Earth, because like they're gonna need a place to start whenever they start actually like building Gondor and in Middle Earth, so it's good that I think that's kind of part of the advantage of having Isildur there. He's like making connections there.
True.
That could be helpful later. But yeah, I think that covers
that's about it.
Covers most of it. I think that episode 5 might be the best episode, my favorite episode of the season. So I'm looking forward to talking about that one with you.
I'm excited to watch it.
It's just a lot of moments where you're just like, oh my word.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. If
really,
anything is like
really good writing,
If anything's like episode 4, episode 4 really did it for me. I don't know what it was. Probably just all the creatures and stuff. But that really did do it for me. I like that episode a lot. It also felt like a good mix between, you got a little bit of Celebrimbor and the dwarves and all that, and you also got some with Elrond and Galadriel. Then you had some with Isildur and Arondir. It was a nice little mixture, seeing different things happening, playing out, all the fantasy with the world. I don't know. The episode 4 really did it for me. It made me excited to keep going, keep watching.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we're halfway there through the season, so we'll be back next time. Yeah. We'll be back, and stay away from spoilers. I'm actually I'm so happy that you're like, you guys discovered Tom Bombadil just by watching it, because like I've known for so long, but that he, like, even before it came out, so that's awesome to get to just discover it just watching it, like. But
luckily my social media, I both am not on it much anymore as it is, and even when I am on it, my feed is so not Lord of the Rings right now. I don't get anywhere near seeing any of that, so I love it.
Well, what, you were starting to say something.
Nope, I said it.
Okay. Well, as we say, this has been the Bridge of Two podcast. A far, far away bridge.